So I want to thank the guests that are joining me tonight. And I'm going to launch right into my presentation. I have like 30 minutes of prepared stuff, or it was 30 minutes in practice. Somebody yell at me if I go past 30 minutes without breaking to introduce the guest speakers and start to move into answering your questions. So, I mean, sometimes I feel like a terrible egomaniac for focusing so much on my pet project. But one of the points I would like to make is that even though I'm the main programmer and developer who's worked on this, and who also produces a lot of the documentation and training program material, although I do have an intern who's supposed to be helping me out this summer at getting some of that done. That this Isaac Newton quote, if I've seen further, it's because I stood on the shoulders of giants. He was talking about the scientists who came before him. Well, I mean, in the WordPress world, I'm building on a platform that was built by lots of other people. WordPress was originally software created by bloggers for bloggers. And it has matured over the years to become something that runs major publication websites. So if you go to the New Yorker website, it is a very professional, highly customized WordPress website, but it's built and edited using the same tools that are available to you. And so there are people from around the world. There's one main company behind it that a lot of the people come from, but there are folks from other organizations who make major contributions. So these are some of the competitors who did big things. And then there's a longer list of people who pointed out bugs, or they worked on a specific little module, little or big, whatever. Long list of people contributing to the basic WordPress stuff. And so, what I've added on top is a little module that helps you handle your agenda on a WordPress-based website, and gives you some additional flexibility there. So I started on this a number of years ago for my home club, Club Awesome. In fact, Edith Oliva, who's here, was president of that club at the time. And she had to put up with me when the software was significantly shakier. And my process for publishing this, the things was a little bit shakier. So I do remember her calling me up saying, David, I go to our website and all it says is major fatal error, cannot continue. The computer is freaking out because I had pushed something live on the website without testing it adequately first. So I've gotten a little bit better in my habits over the years. After online presenters, or actually after Club Awesome, I was involved in starting the online presenters Toastmasters Club, which is quite a successful online club. And so you can see a family resemblance between these two websites, but your website doesn't have to look like that. So this is yet another online club. And this is not just for online clubs. Club Awesome still uses it, but I think particularly if you're doing online or hybrid, you want to have a good game in terms of how you present yourself online. And you'd like to know too that this is going to look good on a mobile device. And I can actually simulate how this would look on a mobile device. Stuff reformats. And this is based on the fact that I'm building on WordPress. They've put a lot of effort over the years into recognizing that so much web use is not coming from a desktop computer, it's coming from a mobile phone these days. And so WordPress has a lot of built-in tools for making sure that things reformat for that other form factor. This is a highly customized site with the video that plays up top. I'm not actually sure I like every element of this design, but the freedom is there for the creativity for them to do what they've done. And Lonnie will show you some some really wild stuff a little bit later, because she's an IT professional. She's really pushed the envelope in a lot of ways in terms of design and setup. So I should pause for a moment to say that even though there's this Toastmasters service that I run that does cost money, if your club commits to it and decides they want to keep the site, you can get like a 3-month free trial. It does cost money to do web hosting here. I actually give the software away for free. And so I think Lonnie has actually sent me a couple of donations out of the goodness of her heart, but it's available for free to somebody who has the technical skills to set up their own WordPress website. What I'm charging for is paying, my providers upstream for what it costs me to run it. So I'm running it basically at cost. So you can come to toastmasters.org. There's a little bit of a process of signing up for the email list and validating that to get a password. But once you have a password, or maybe you belong to another club that uses Toastmasters, you can come in here and say that this is the May 31st demo club. And it will give me a suggested web address for that site. I can also go and register a domain name, or some clubs already have that with a GoDaddy or other web domain registrar, and I can associate that with the site. But for starters, it's going to be something.toastmasters.org. And so ideally, you would put in your club number and your district and something about your location, so I know where in the world you are, or whether you're an online club. I do have something, I've tried to interest districts in maybe sponsoring some of these things so that they can buy, if they give me a donation towards the cause, I'll give them a bunch of coupon codes so you could get discounted access too. So if your district would be interested in that, or you can convince them to be interested in that, let me know. Because things have gone online, it's very important to publish what time zone you're in, so that people can figure out if they'd like to attend from some other place in the world, what is it in their local time. So time zone we need to know. And then we want to know when you meet. So let's have a club that meets every Tuesday at 7:30 p.m. So we'll just continue on at the same time. And that will be our Toastmasters Club. And then I can choose a design. And so these are some starter designs. Now you can change your mind later. So you can move to a whole different design framework. But within each of these designs, there's a lot of freedom for your creativity, for your innovation, for you to change the colors of things. And I'll get into some of that. So we'll say that for this demo club, let's say actually we'll choose the same one as Buddies. So that's the design we're going to use just for starters. I'll say submit. And it does chug along for a few minutes. It has a few things to set up in the background. So we do get a please wait message. It shouldn't take terribly long. And usually during demos, that's when things really go wrong. But it worked. Hey, all right. So it's saying you have your new club website, finish the site setup. So, people do complain to me that some of this stuff is too complicated. This is one of my efforts to try and simplify things, or at least simplify things at the beginning. This is a little questionnaire about how you want to run your club meetings. So there are some standard roles listed here. Actually, my clubs have a body language monitor, but a lot of people don't. So we could take that out. Maybe you do have somebody who comes up and tells a joke, but you don't call that the humorist, you call that the joke master. And number of speakers and evaluators at a typical meeting. So you can change that number to be whatever it needs to be. And so, this, based on this questionnaire, it's going to try and set up a starter template for your meetings that will be at least in the ballpark of how you'd like to run things. So I'll say next, and it's going to go out and set that up for me. Come on. I've done this too, where I did everything based on recordings, but maybe it's a little bit more convincing to do it live. So it asks me here on this next screen whether my club officer role is just webmaster, or maybe I'm the VP of education. And then I can invite in my friend George Washington, who's the president of the club. Okay, so he's the president, and we'll give him some editor rights on the website, but not necessarily make him have to learn all the admin things. So you can add, I always think it's a good idea to have a few other people come in and kick the tires if you're just testing this out, so that you're not just collaborating with yourself. You have some other people who are coming in and looking at it. So you can do that right here on this screen. And now it will set up a few things. And on this screen, it's trying to give me suggested next steps. Now I'm also going to get a copy of this emailed off to me. And for the first few weeks after you sign up, you should get a little email reminder. Here's your to-do list of things that you might want to do next. If you want to set up dues payments on the website, here's a help article, and here's where you click to do it. So I'm trying to streamline that process as best as I know how. One of the things I wanted to make sure to spend some time on is how to work with the editor. So one of the first things you would want to do is edit your homepage. So maybe you have an existing free toast site and you want to bring in some content from that. You should be able to copy and paste some content into here. Sometimes that picks up some unintended formatting. So sometimes you might copy and paste into, just the Windows notepad or something, and then paste just the text in here. I have some ideas about how we might be able to simplify that as well. But this is the information that I put in on the sign-up form that we meet every Tuesday at 7:30 p.m. So we have a little bit of customization here to start with. But then I want to, write something or paste in content about, why we are so special. I tell people not to be intimidated by this. This is just a glorified web-based word processor, except that it does allow you to bring in multimedia content. So for example, if I want to incorporate a YouTube video, I can just copy and paste the link to that into my content. And WordPress is actually smart enough to figure out that that is a YouTube video and automatically insert the player code for it. So that's pretty handy. We can insert an image is obviously one of the basic things you might want to do. So to choose different types of content, WordPress uses this concept of blocks. So just content blocks, building blocks of your website, however you want to think of it. So if I want to add a heading, I click the plus sign up in the corner and I choose heading. And so it's going to give me a little starter text. This is my subheading. And the little floating button bar changes if I'm in a paragraph or I'm in a heading. And some of these controls on the side also change depending whether I'm in a paragraph or a heading. So, for example, I can set a background color on this for emphasis, and then make the text of it white. So these are some of the ways that you can decorate the page. Now, I would caution you, don't use every special effect back to back. You get what they used to call in the early era of desktop publishing, they called it ransom note typography, where people used every available font on the same page, and it looked like a ransom note. So don't go overboard with the special effects. Use them for emphasis is a good guideline. If I want to add an image, again, I can go to the plus sign up here. There's actually another little plus sign that appears here at the end of the line, and actually in between any two blocks, there's insert another block. So image is obviously a basic thing that we might want to add. So this is going to be an image of a happy couple from a demo I was working on that involved wedding invites. And so we have controls here to center that. There's actually a little bit of cropping that you can do in here. There's definitely resizing. So in the sidebar, one of the main things is you can say, is this going to be full size or the medium size or just a little thumbnail? You can actually type in numbers too of what the proportion should be, or say 75% of what's showing now. You can move these things up and down with these little up and down arrows. Or you can, this is sort of a handle here. Looks like a little grippy icon. So some of these things might not be easy to see on the screen, but actually if it's a little grippy icon is the best thing I can think of. It actually says drag when you put your cursor over it. And so that allows you to do the drag and drop manipulation. If you want to get rid of something, you should be able to just click delete. There is also here where you can click and you can go to remove heading or remove whatever that block is. Sometimes it's handy to go in here and say insert after, and it'll give me a blank line where I can add something new. And I'm trying to avoid overwhelming you by throwing too much at you at once. But a shortcut you can use, if you know what you want to add, you can type the / line at the beginning of any line, and it will give you a little pop-up menu saying, what do you want to add? And so I can say, I want to add an image or an image gallery or a list. So just a bullet list, or it could be a numbered list. Now, let's see, actually, bullets or something, if you just type an asterisk at the beginning of a line, it will interpret that as a command that you're about to start a bullet list. So that's another way of doing it. And so, again, one of the basic points I wanted to make is that the controls available in any button bar that shows up and in what appears on the sidebar are different depending on where you are in the document. And there's actually sort of two sidebars in one here, so that could be a little bit confusing too. So if I go in here, these are the properties of the actual document. And one important thing I wanted to show here too is that if I update this document and I realize, oh my God, I just made a mistake, I deleted the most important thing, or I added something that's completely inappropriate on the website and I need to correct that. In this document properties tab, there's this thing called revisions. So if we go into revisions, we can actually go back in time and see how the document changed. So I could eliminate everything that I just changed there by going back here. Let's say, And I think in between there's like an auto save or something. It said 3 revisions, but I only seem to be able to access 2 of them. So I don't want to put it back all the way to the beginning, but well, let's show how that works. All right, restore this revision. So I pretty much just wiped out all the work that I just did. And if we go out and see it on the website, we've gotten rid of all that content, which in my example was supposed to be a mistake. See, actually, I think I probably could bring it back now, as I realized, oh my gosh, I went back too far in time. It would be better if I just edited it some more. So let's try. We find here. There we go. So I say restore this version. And there's some of the customizations that I added. Okay. So all is not lost. Partly I'm trying to give you a little bit of comfort that there's a limit to how much you can screw this up. Well, some of us try pretty hard to screw things up. I'm one of them on some days, but there are safety nets built in here. Let's see. I make sure everybody else is muted for the moment. I mean, you're allowed to unmute yourself. So if you need to speak up, please do. So I probably spent a little bit too much time on this section. I wanted to show you. So there is this concept of the dashboard. So this is the administrator's dashboard. And we can go back and forth between viewing the public website and the dashboard that is only accessible to members at least. Now, your regular members are going to get a much simplified version of this. And I have an example here somewhere. So this is a simpler menu. There is a Toastmasters menu where they can go look up some reports on their progress through the program. So you could look up all your old speeches.
David, we're not able to see the menu. I think you're trying to display. It's off. It's cut off on your view for some reason.
Okay, let me. I see. Okay, hold on a moment. So thank you for interrupting me. And ta-da. Okay.
There you go.
And see, actually, that's not what I wanted to show. Let's say. Okay. This is what I wanted to show you. So this is a simplified menu. There is access to reports, so I can see my progress with the program. This person hasn't done anything, so it's a brand new account. But over here, a member who has been working through the program for a while could go and look up their old speeches, or they can see all the times that they served as an evaluator or in other roles. They can access the member directory, which of course is also very abbreviated here. And a few other functions. I mean, one of the main things that we want them to be able to do is customize their own profile, so they can decide whether they want their phone number to be in here. They can change their password by going to this profile screen, but they don't have as much complexity because they don't need it. And there are some steps in between here where you can make, as I mentioned, George Washington, making him an editor on the site, but not the administrator. So he wouldn't see quite as complicated of a menu. There are sections here for Toastmasters Club administration functions, specifically for email lists, which is something I've been doing a ton of work lately on improving email related features, which is actually some of the most technically complicated stuff that I deal with. There is a feature where you can add your minutes as a separate document type that's only viewable by club members, not viewable on the public website to somebody who's not logged in. You have your blog post section, your pages, and then RSVP events is where all your meeting notices go, but it is not just meetings. I can also create a special event. So we're going to have an open house on such and such a date. And we'll set the time for that. We'll say we want to collect online RSVPs because it's an online event, or because we want to have a guest list of people to come in. And once I get to past that point of having set the date and time, I'm dealing with the same editor that I use otherwise. I have a system for creating messages like the invitation some of you received to tonight's event. This can be created in the blog post. This is a placeholder for the event listing. And these are the same controls that I showed you for a blog post or a web page where I've set the background color and the text color. Now, there is something that's a little bit different. We are getting to the half hour, so I'm dragging on a little bit past, but something very important to go over. Never mind that right now. Let's say something important to go over. Where's my club website? Okay. Is how you work with agendas. So this is something that people do get confused about. I do want to show you that a number of elements of this are the same as working with a blog post or a web page. The idea of content blocks, and you can move them up and down, you can add them, you can delete them, except that these are going to be special content blocks that represent meeting roles and other elements of your meeting. So this is probably something that I'll spend more time on in Q&A afterwards, but let me cover the basics before we move on to hearing from our guests. So this is the agenda that was generated based on the questions that I answered in that original questionnaire, that wizard setup. So it has a role called joke master instead of humorist, which was the default. And the controls for that, let's see. Let me move myself over here. Most of the controls for that are in the sidebar. So this is a custom role, called Joke Master. And we only have one Joke Master per meeting. But when I click on speaker, I will see that speaker, we have 4, because that's what we put in on the questionnaire. Now, maybe we realize that our members are actually too long-winded for us to have four speeches and fit it into a reasonable amount of time. So I'll dial that back and I'll change the amount of time. So I'll say we're going to have 3 speakers. And that means we should probably change this to be, for some reason this came out as evaluators, and general evaluator, and it should be evaluator. Something I need to fix there in the wizard setup. But I'll say we need 3 speakers and 3 evaluators, and I will adjust the amount of time that's allowed for those evaluations to be about 10 minutes. So let's see, I have been doing this in the event template so that this will be the default for all my meetings going forward. Now, there's another step here. When I update this, should come up with a little message up top. Let me see if I can make this larger. It says, after updating this template, click on new event based on template or create update events. And since we have a bunch of events that are already up on the website, we want to do create and update. And what this does is give me the option of modifying each of these events. So I'm going to say check all. And it's warning me that some of them have been customized independently and that I'm going to be overwriting that. That's okay. So I'm going to go ahead and add update from template. Okay, I'm almost finished with the monologue. And so now if we go out and view any of these, we will see that we should now have 3 speaker slots and 3 evaluator slots for people to sign up for. So this is the sign up sheet view. And then there is a view that we can show this on screen. We can print it, or we can also email it off to people. And this is useful for filling open roles on the agenda. So I usually customize the message up here saying speaker roles open, exclamation mark. So you can change that agenda. You can add a note up top saying we really need you to sign up for speaker roles several weeks in advance. Gee, we're short this week. Please come in and help fill those roles. You know, how your club goes about that process, I understand is going to be different from club to club, but I'm hoping that there's some tools built in here that are going to help you be productive. And I'll share some follow-up video demos that go into some of the tools in more detail. Now, I talked about updating the template. If I want to change an individual meeting, I can do that too, so that I can say that for this particular meeting, I know somebody's giving a long speech, and so we're only going to have 2 speakers instead of 3. I can make that change here. There is also a placeholder status that sometimes people use as kind of a quick and dirty way of handling that, where they will, instead of setting to a person's name, they can set it to not available. So that's another way of specifying that we only have 2 speeches at this meeting instead of 3. So that's, yeah, there's more than one way of working with all this. Let's see. In addition to the roles, there's something called an editable note that's available, which I often use for adding the theme of the meeting. And you would spell out whatever they are. And so this is a way of providing a little bit of editing capability to the Toastmaster of the day, who maybe doesn't have rights to get into the dashboard and all the editing functions. You don't want to give that out to everybody. But you can allow them to add a note up top of the agenda by including one of those components. And so, again, this is just a different kind of WordPress block. And so an editable note is something you can add. You can add additional roles just by going in here and saying, if you type the word Toastmasters, you'll get all the options available for Toastmasters content. There's a widget for allowing people to tell you that they don't think they'll be able to make the meeting, giving you some warning of that. All right. Enough demo for now, or at least from me. So let me open this up to our guests and let's see.
David, I did have one question for you.
Yes, sir.
You reviewed looking at a person's own history within the club.
Right.
Does the system have the ability to identify if you belong to more than one club so that you can track your progress by, if you're going through, for example, a particular pathway and you've done 2 items on the pathway in club 1, 2 in club 2, 3 in club 3.
Right.
You track that from this or not?
Well, there's 2 or 3 things I can say about that. If you belong to multiple clubs that use the Toastmasters service, it's all in the same user database. So you have one database account, you have one record of your speech history. It is possible to like manually enter speeches that you've given in other clubs and add that to the record. There is also something, Club Awesome came along before Toastmasters existed. So partly because of that, I provide a way of syncing between different websites, but they have to be this type of website. So, relatively few people other than me are in the situation of belonging to multiple clubs who use this setup. So we're trying to change that, but I don't know how fast it will change. And, I think the reality is that free Toast, because it is free and it's kind of the default that Toastmasters International optimizes, that's going to be most club websites for the foreseeable future, unless Toastmasters today decides to sort of adopt my project and make it the new standard, which they show no sign of doing. But the one thing to say there is that this is the way that you distinguish yourself too, and prevent your club website from looking from like every other club website. Anyways, enough of that. Let's move on to the guests that I have joining us. And now I haven't pre-filtered them in terms of what they're going to say. I just said, if you could take a few minutes, maybe screen share a little bit and show us something about your website, something that you're happy with, and tell us something that you want to work better too. I want to get some sharing of lessons learned so far, and give people here who are either still learning or thinking about trying to learn this stuff an idea of what that learning curve is like, and snags you've hit along the way, how you've overcome them. Let me ask Eloise to go first.
I know you were going to say that. So can I share my screen?
Yes, you should be able to share your screen. Let's see. Yeah, screen sharing is on for everybody.
Well, I want to say good evening to all you fellow Toastmasters. Our club is Bell Noontime, and it was an interesting set of circumstances that led us to want to use Toastmasters. We were using Google Drive for a lot of things. So we found that it was difficult, it was clunky for people to sign up for roles. We had a Google spreadsheet that you had to use. We did everything in Google, and people were always complaining. People were always corrupting the sheet. And so we were very interested in the agenda and the automated reminders function of this solution. And that's why we went there, and I volunteered to try to get the website up and running and maintain it. So I'm going to show you a couple of things. I am not a master. I had no familiarity with WordPress before I started working with this. To give you some idea of the timeline, we started playing around with it in September of last year. Just the officers, just really me and one other person played around with it, and I really liked it. So I took it to the officers in November, and I said, I think it's good enough for us to roll out. So in December, we offered training for the members. because we wanted to show them how to do the basic things using the site. And we went live in January. So we've been using it since January. So I'm going to show you a couple of things. One is when you look at our next meeting, I'll say a couple of things. One is you notice that our meeting links, some say noon meeting and some say evening meeting. Our club meets, some weeks we meet at noon and some weeks we meet in the evening. So the way I implemented that was I created 2 agenda templates, a noon template and an evening template. And why did I have to do that? Because the time is part of the agenda. So let's just look at the meeting that's coming up on Wednesday, and I'll show you a wonderful problem that we have. When I set up the template for both meetings, usually we only have 2.
I can't do that now.
Usually we only have 2 speakers, but when you look at Wednesday's meeting, we have 3 speakers. And notice each one of them is giving a 7-minute speech. And you see this red message, limit 15. When I set this up, because we usually only have 2 speakers, I allowed for 3 speakers, but I gave it 15 minutes. So if we had 2 people that were speaking 5 to 7 minutes, it's around 14 minutes, a minute of kind of fumbling around. And that's how I came up with 15. But this time, if I don't change the agenda, and I'll show you what I love is the agenda. I just love it. But you can see that I'm 6 minutes over. The agenda is a little bit over. And that's because we have the problem we want to have, which is more speakers. So what I want to do is fix the agenda. And actually, David talked about this. Now I'll show you how I do it. So I'm going to go to the June 1st meeting, and I'm going to go to the agenda time planner. So we have 3 speakers, but I've only allocated 15 minutes. So what I'm going to do is give the speakers 22 minutes. But if I did that, you notice how it tells me what time the meeting will end. So I know I need to shave some time somewhere so that we'll end at 1 o'clock. So I have this 8 minutes that we never really used. So I'm going to, oops, look what I'm doing, making it take longer. I'm going to go in the other direction. Instead of 8 minutes, let's give that 4 minutes. So I'm still at 1:03. I have some other time up here where the president calls the meeting to order, and it usually doesn't take 5 minutes. So I'll just shave a couple of minutes. Now I'm down to 1:01. So you know what? We're going to be really efficient when we open this meeting. And now I'm going to update my times. And if I look at the agenda, it's now going to end at 1 p.m. One of the things we love about the agenda is it tells the timer when to go red, yellow, and green. And the main thing we love about it is that beautiful email that everybody gets with the easy one-click sign up. So it really has reduced the amount of time that we spend at the beginning of the meeting, haggling over who's on first, who's going to be the timer, who's going to do this, who's going to do that. The other thing I wanted to show you is something that David talked about in the beginning. He said that WordPress was built by bloggers for bloggers. So I cheated a little bit. I was on project 4, and it was electives. I was at the part where you pick an electives, and there's an elective to create a compelling blog. And I had never done a blog before. And I said, you know what? I bet I could do that right here on this website, because part of the project is find a place where you can create a blog and then figure out how to do it. So what I would like to do for just a minute, if it's okay, is show you how to create a blog. So I'm going to go to new post. And, of course, the hardest part of creating a blog, now this thing talks you through it, but I don't want it to talk to me because I know time is short. So the hardest part is obviously writing the blog. So this is something that I already wrote. It's a speech I gave. And so I'm just going to copy it from my Word document into the blog. And I'm going to go here, and I called this All Right. So I gave it a title. I'm putting content in here, and you notice in my thing at this point, I have a picture. So what I'm going to do is add, an image. I got nervous, and I'm going to upload it. And I have my cat right there. It's the nervous cat. So there he is. And then I'm going to add some more words, I think. I'm going to go down here. I'm going to add some more text. So I'm going to put a paragraph there, and I'm going to go back and grab the rest of my blog, just like that, and copy it. And I'm going to paste it right here. And then I'm going to add my picture at the end, which is the very confident lady. This particular blog is encouraging people to say, all right, I'll be an officer. So now that I've created the blog, and I'm going to move this thing out of the way, I am going to publish it. So are you ready to publish? Yes, I'm ready to publish. So now instead of viewing blog like they said, I'm going to go back to my site, because you notice that I have this section over here that has the blogs in it. Now I'm going to tell you a secret. For that project, you had to create 8 blogs, but this thing is only set to display 5 at a time. So I need to fix that. So what I'm going to do is customize that widget. And so when I click on this little funny looking thing here, hopefully, I don't know why I'm not, there it is. You see, it's only set to display 5. And I promise that I have more than 5 because I really did complete my assignment. I did not cheat. So I'm going to change that to 10. I'll accept all my cookies to make that go away. And now I'm going to publish again. And look what happened. Now you can see all of them. So that's all I got. That's all the magic I got for now. We love the website, and we're very thankful to David for creating it. So I'll give it back to you, David. Thank you.
No, very cool. And you covered some things, from your perspective, which is really what I wanted you to do. But also, don't get too hung up on the word blog. I actually just had this conversation with my employer where we're talking about publishing certain reports directly to the website through the blog. And he said, well, I don't want them written like blogs, because he has some idea from the 90s of what a blogger is. It's just an article. It's just a web native article. That's all it is. A blog can really be anything you want it to be. Anyways, and I guess part of the reason, the decision between making something a blog and making it a page on your site is usually the pages are sort of the anchor content, the welcome page, the member listing page, the what makes this club different page, things that you're sort of going to keep, have it in the site navigation scheme, and they're kind of evergreen. Blogs are more newsy content, like somebody won a contest or whatever. It's actually, we're using up a lot of time here. So let's move on to Arlene. Arlene, what can you show us? What can you tell us?
Thank you, David. Good evening, fellow Toastmasters. I'd like to share my screen.
You can do that.
Show you our website. Can you see my screen?
There we go.
Okay, wonderful. I'd like to just show you a little bit about our website. We absolutely love this website. Prior to starting this website, we did not have a website. We did not have the free Toast host, so we were basically dependent on our Facebook page, and we had an Eventbrite page, and that was it. So this website has totally improved our presence online. We are now getting people who don't have to go through Toastmasters to contact us. They go to our website, they see this clean looking, crisp looking website. It doesn't look grainy like the free Toast host website, so it just blows my mind that we have this wonderful looking website to draw prospective members into our club. When they come, they can see our banner. We've won the Golden Gavel Award, so we can post that and do a little bragging online. And then we allow them to read some information about our club. And if they like what they see, which hopefully they will, then they can come here to the guest section and they can actually make a reservation to visit our club. So they can click on here and it actually allows them to make a reservation. It's very, very simple, very easy. If they would like to join, they can click on this page and it will allow them to fill out a membership application. And we connected to Stripe for payment processing, and they can actually pay their initial dues right there. It's been done several times in our club already. People have joined without even visiting the club. That would never have happened without this website. So we are over the moon with our little website here. The calendar, I can do a little bit more with the calendar, so I'll come back to that. But this member info section here, we post all the club news. Anyone who is not attending the meetings can come here, click on club news, and see what's going on in the club, all of our current announcements. Sometimes when we won the Golden Gavel, we post a couple of pictures on here. When members complete their paths, so we take photos. There's more that we can do and lots more pictures that could be added to the website, but it's really been an improvement. In addition, I have posted all of the scripts for our meeting roles, our speaker intro form, all the pathways evaluation forms. No one needs to email me or text me an hour before the meeting to ask me for any of these documents, because they're right here online, and anyone, they don't even have to log into the website to read our club news or get any of these forms. So that has made the VPE's role much easier because all of these forms are on here. We have I've just put a couple of videos on here just to try it out and make sure that it did work. And we can post videos on here, and we do have a little blog here. There is a pathways assignment or a speech project to create a blog. And so I have allowed one member who was posting things that were going on in the club to complete his blog assignment. And then we have a contact us page, and people who come on the website are able to contact us if they have a question. And so this has been such a great thing for our club. The members love it. The dashboard here allows them to come in and sign up for their role. So for our meeting tomorrow, if someone wanted to choose a role, they could come in here and take a role. So most of the roles are already taken, but we have 2 roles that someone could take the role by just simply clicking take a role, and they would be signed up for the meeting. So our members love it. I love it. I've been the president, the VPE, on 2 different occasions. I'm currently the VPE again, and it has been a world of improvement in our professional appearance and the ability of prospective members to find us online and just read about our club.
Okay. Well, great, Arlene. And I appreciate you saying such nice things, particularly since I think I just got another note from you the other day about something that needs to be fixed or added, or so, Arlene's one of the people who definitely has pushed me to make it better. Our next guest speaker, Lonnie Heff, she not only has pushed me to make it better, she actually just sent me a little bit of code the other day to fix some bugs and add some special features. So it's good to have somebody other than me who's and I always think that anybody who who has to go spelunking through my code must be, particularly an IT professional, must be recoiling in horror to some extent, because I think there are functions in there that are no longer used, but I haven't gotten rid of it anyway. But talk about customization. You can see some of it on the screen. Explain to us what's going on here, Lonnie. So we're not hearing you yet.
Sorry, I lost my meeting controls. Let me just say that no developer looking at another developer's code looks at a function and says, this isn't used anywhere, because you never know. Thank you so much, David. It is such a pleasure to be with all of you here this evening. Thank you for giving me just a little bit of your time to share what we have been able to do with David's fantastic RSVP maker for Toastmasters product. I remember when I first volunteered to become VPPR for my corporate club, Spirited Speech Masters, I hated our freetoasthost.com site. I knew it could be so much better, but I assumed that we were stuck with it because we needed that online meeting sign-up functionality that's really core to what Toastmasters is, right? On a whim, I searched for an agenda sign-up plugin for WordPress, hoping to find something I could somehow shoehorn or massage into use by our Toastmasters Club. Lo and behold, I found David's wonderful RSVP maker and RSVP maker for Toastmasters plugin. At that point, I was over the moon and I couldn't wait to get started in my VPPR role. You see, I have years of background using WordPress, and this was the perfect opportunity to leverage that experience to deliver a better usage environment for all my club mates. Dungeons and Toast, keep in mind, is a specialty interest Toastmasters club, which marries the speaking and leadership development focuses of Toastmasters with the interactive storytelling hobby role-playing games. You may have heard of Dungeons and Dragons. That is our primary focus in Dungeons and Toast. If you haven't heard of Dungeons and Dragons, but you've seen movies like Lord of the Rings or the HBO series Game of Thrones, those are typical settings for role-playing games. Now, because of the highly visual nature of the medium, my club made the decision to brand our public facing site to be compliant with Toastmasters branding requirements, but to indulge in a more artistic looking backend. In other words, anyone who visits our website does not see what you're seeing right now. They see a very Toastmasters compliant, typical maroon and navy. All the colors are brand compliant, all the fonts are brand compliant, but when you log in, you get to see what you're seeing right now. Many of our club members are also video gamers. In many video games, a player earns something called experience points. These points generally represent how much time the player has invested in the game, and more points are often awarded for completing more time-consuming or challenging tasks. I decided to apply the ideas of an experience-based gaming system to incentivizing the behaviors we want to see from our members by using the GamyPress WordPress plugin in combination with RSVP Maker for Toastmasters. For example, our Vice President Education awards 50 experience to a member who awards our club a Level 1 Pathways Award. But she will award 100 experience for a Level 5 Pathways Award because that's much harder. But it rewards them for giving us something they could have chosen to give to another one of the clubs of which they are a member. Many of our members are dual members in multiple clubs. Our treasurer, likewise, awards 10 experience points to any member who renews their membership before a specific date, encouraging our members to be considerate of her time. Now, these points are awarded into different categories. We have our education points or education awards here. You'll see that There's a special award for giving your first speech at our club. There's a special award worth 200 experience points for getting your DTM. That's a huge one. We don't expect to see more than 1 or 2 of those a year. Triple crowns are incentivized. We also have our Guild Spirit Awards. These are for going above and beyond, participating extra in the things that make our guild special. We call our speech contests verbal jousts to try to retheme that in a fun and engaging way for our members. We have demoing an RPG. So if you come to our meeting and you demonstrate an RPG mechanic to teach our newer members who maybe haven't played as much how they can accomplish something in a role-playing game, we give points for that. We also have Guild Service Awards. These are really important for rewarding the people who serve in leadership, or they do something like bring a guest to a meeting or sponsor somebody for joining. So we have classified these into 3 groups. And in addition to that, we award experience points when they sign up for meeting roles. How frustrating is it to show up to a meeting and you have 3 roles that are unfilled? Well, our goal is to eliminate that altogether by making those really hard to fill roles, those more time intensive, requires more preparation role, more rewarding. We give 15 points for Table Topics Master because that is our most intensive role. We give 10 points for the Toastmaster of the Day and the General Evaluator, and we give 5 points for our functionary roles because those are the easiest roles to fill at the last minute. Of course, we also give 1 point just for attending the meeting and 1 point for delivering a table topic, none of which would be possible without David's RSVP maker system, and that's something I've been working on all week.
Okay.
In addition, we also have a leaderboard. Now, keep in mind that this system has not yet gone live, so you're not seeing the, a particularly interesting leaderboard here, but it will let people see where they are relative to one another. And at the end of the Toastmasters year, we can use our leaderboard to hand out that Outstanding Toastmaster of the Year award. Now, I don't know if you've ever heard of that. I hadn't heard of it in my previous club, but apparently it's a thing. And it's something that we're going to use our leaderboard to determine who should be awarded that. Now, to avoid that feeling of new members coming in and seeing old members with 150 experience and feeling, oh, I'll never reach that level, I can't compete. We are planning to wipe out all experience at the beginning of each Toastmasters year. So everybody starts with a clean slate. They will keep any of the virtual rewards that they have redeemed their experience for, but everybody gets to start fresh.
Okay.
To add depth to that idea, we created a role-playing campaign. David, do you need me to stop? I can stop.
Probably we should pause. Yeah.
No problem. I totally understand.
I don't think that most of the people in this session are necessarily going to customize to the extent that Lonnie has. But one of the reasons I wanted her to share what she's done is to show that it is possible. Now, years ago, before I started wasting all my time on this project, or investing all my time on this project, I guess would be the more positive Toastmasters way to say it. We had a technical member of our club who said, gee, if we could just find some way to hook into Free Toast Host and add like a couple of additional little customizations, we could make it so much better. But there was no way to do that. And there is in the approach I took. Now, I try to provide ways that things could be customized. I try to anticipate that ahead of time, but Lonnie has come to me saying, could you just give me a little hook that I can use to see those meetings sign up roles and link it to this other program. And so it wasn't really a lot of work for me to do, although after I did it, she still found bugs and issues for me to straighten out. But that's helpful. But let's pause for a moment. Donna Knight has been messaging me saying that she had something that she wanted to share. We also want to make time for questions. Now, this is probably going a little, some of you maybe can't stick around for a long period of time. I don't know whether you want to spend your entire evening on this, or I don't know what time zone everybody is in. I will actually stay online for as long as people want to ask questions. I don't, Donna, I had sort of lined up a few people in advance to share in detail about their experience, but if you have a couple of things that you'd like to share, Donna, explain to the folks who you are and what would you like to share?
Good evening. First thing, my computer decided to crash today. This was boring. I have no idea how the camera works. It doesn't. My apologies. I wanted to share from those. I know somebody is on the site who hasn't used it yet. So I just want to share, hopefully, if this computer will allow me. One of the things we love about your site, and we use it, and something I want to be able to get updated, is that members want the opportunity to jump around using pathways, and your site allows them to do that. It is recorded, and they might say where I am, and I say just go to the site and see what it is that you have missed, and they can go there and see it. When we're doing the Toastmaster of the year, we can see what it is that one member has done for the year, and we can use it. The site I want to sell is very helpful because it has one of my favorite features. I have been a secretary for a while, is that it allows me to find the minutes. I had spoken to you about emailing it, and I think you have an update there. I'm going to go through it later and see what it is. But the minutes are there where I can, once you get today's minutes, you can update the minutes from the agenda. And then the other part about it I like is that down the bottom, I can add everything else. I love the fact that for those of us who do best table topic speaker.
I think what you're looking for, the menu did change.
I know, my glasses don't work either. I'm playing around with it.
Under TM minutes, there's one that says minutes from meeting agenda.
Here it is.
For meeting
here
records.
It is, right. So for example, that's our last. And we can add little notes to it. You can edit. Let's just play with this. My club won't kill me too much. So we usually put, and I usually talk to the secretary about putting additional notes here. So by the time we're ready to convert this to Word and fix it up, there are one or two things I will speak with David about later in terms of when we email it out, it looks a particular way, similarly to how we edited our agenda. I will stop there. Just those are some of the things I really love about the site. Somebody spoke about dues already, but if you need it in Toastmasters, Toastmost has sorted it out. And of course, one of my favorite things is I love the fact, nice and simple, we have our homepage. We put our history on our homepage as to what we have been doing over the years. So it is there and people can find it. We can speech contests, even being a judge in another contest. I just went here and emailed everything to everybody. So we don't have to search for them. Of course, following Toastmasters International, we ask you to sign in because they do say everything isn't to be allowed to others. Any little excitement that we have, we put it here so people can come on and see and celebrate. So I love it that I can customize it. Love the minutes, love the records. Those are my 2 minutes. Thank you, David.
Thank you very much.
Cool.
Let's see, other folks who have a question aside from our guest speakers. I see Revati.
Yeah, thank you, David, and thank you to all the guest speakers. It's definitely a wonderful meeting. I got more insights about the site because I created the web for a club website using Toastmost. It's been like 2 years. And I see wonderful features in the website, but honestly, I am not using it as much. But I want to use it with the help of anyone who are so comfortable in the handling the website or the WordPress. So I am a very slow learner. So I'm learning little by little. But definitely attending this meeting gave me more ideas. What can I do in the website for my learning level? So, but I have a question in the email part. Is there a control in sending emails to the members on a weekly meeting? Like instead of, I don't know how many emails it could send on a weekly basis.
Right.
I don't have idea about that. And most of my questions are related to the emails. And is there a control in sending emails to the group and emails to the unconfirmed, not confirmed role members? And the other one is, can we have a place to feed our guest email ID, and it will just send an email, just 1 or 2 emails a week to our every meeting to the guest? Instead of more emails, just 1 or 2 emails to the guest.
Sure.
So do we have a place like that?
Yeah. Okay, so there are a bunch of things because they've sort of been added over time. One of the first things that I wanted to do was have an automated way of sending meeting reminders. And so you can, in the basic settings, you can say, everybody should get a meeting reminder 2 hours before, or a day before, or 2 days before the meeting. And that reminder can be different for the people who have signed up for the role versus people who have not yet signed up for a role. So if you've not yet signed up for a role, you get a reminder that says, sign up for a role. Here are the openings. I think it was Eloise showed the one-click sign up as a useful thing. And I particularly do it because if you're on your phone, I check my email from the phone all the time. I don't want to type a complicated password on my phone. If I can click one link and say, yes, I'll take that role, that's a lot easier. And, you know, it's the security of it is based on the fact that it is keyed to your email address. So the email you receive is tied to your account. Now, could that be hacked? I'm not terribly worried about people hacking our website to sign up for meeting roles. If they can hack our website to use that function to rewrite the homepage, that would be bad. But generally, they're probably not trying to sign up for our meeting roles. And if they do, maybe we'll have somebody really interesting come to speak to us about how they hack websites. So, all right, so that was one thing, was just the reminder function. You can also create email newsletters, and I actually have done a lot of work on that just recently. That's actually part of the underlying Word RSVP maker software. And where did I put that?
David, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I have to go, but I have a super quick question.
Sure.
So do you have the ability to, like, let's say somebody makes a website that has, say, offensive imagery, or they've gone off the grid, their website is collecting dust. You have the ability to go into somebody who is using your service, their website, to say, edit, take out that imagery, or just trim that website because it's not being used? Or do you have to ask them to do it? Could you, like, hack my website is what I'm asking, I guess.
So I am the super administrator or the network administrator for all the Toastmasters sites. So usually I'm not going to go into your site unless you ask me to go in there. But if you're having trouble with something, I can log in and assist you. And I have been, because people can sign up for the free trial account, I've been waiting for years for somebody to, create something where the homepage is all porn or something. It hasn't happened yet. I do sort of loosely monitor for it. For if they post offensive content, yes, I can take it down. and I have sort of a gentleman's agreement with Toastmasters International that I will maintain some level of brand compliance. So, they don't want naked people on the homepage of the website. I'm pretty sure. I'm not sure that's actually spelled out in the brand manual, but I think it's implied. So yes, I can take down offensive content, or I can delete websites if I need to, because I am God in that context. Let's see.
David, I'm making something. I'll.
All right. Thank you. Daniel, by the way, is the intern who's going to help us work on developing some better documentation for the site. So everybody clap for Daniel. And he's learning. He's just learning his way around the Toastmasters world.
Have a great night, everybody, or day, wherever in the world you are.
All right. Thank you, Daniel. See, I'm sorry, Dr. Byrne, did you wanted to ask something? I see it in the chat, but
I had a couple of quick questions. When one joins the Toastmasters program and you're playing around with it and learning it, how often are all of these programs linked together so that when you make a major modification that it goes across all the participants in Toastmasters?
sure. Yeah, no, there's one instance of the software for all of these sites. Now, that's not true for Lonnie because she's maintaining her own site. And she's had the fun experience occasionally of installing one of my updates and watching it blow up because I made a change and I forgot to include that in the open source version or something like that. So I think she's probably learned to be a little bit cautious about installing. I'm trying to be better, Lonnie. I really am. I'm trying to be a good boy. But for everybody on Toastmasters, everybody gets the updates at the same time,
Okay.
for good or bad.
And when did the one-click feature, which I really like, come into the program?
I think I had a version of it there's a version where you can suggest a role for an individual member. I think that's the first place that I used it, was the idea that everybody, so people sign up for roles as Toastmaster of the Day or VP of Education. You may be able to get an email from somebody who says, yes, I'll speak, but they didn't log into the website. So you can sign them up for the role. But there's this other suggestion mode where you say, I see you haven't spoken in 6 months. Can you speak at the next meeting or the meeting after that? And so the idea is that this is a psychology thing, is you say, can anybody do this? And you put that message out to the group and nobody speaks up. Whereas if you tap a specific person on the shoulder and say, I'd like you to speak next week because you are wonderful and fabulous and we value you. So if you send them that specific invitation, they might be more likely to respond. And then if we can make it easy for them to say yes, make it as easy as possible for them to say yes, one click, and they're signed up, then that's going to help streamline things too. So, so in addition to that, if I email out the whole agenda to the club, it also includes that one-click link. Now, I have to remind people that that's in there. People don't necessarily tend to notice unless you pointed it out to them, because people don't pay attention. I mean, I get 10 times as much email as I know how to handle too. I'm like everybody else. So, but still, email is a nice lowest common denominator to reach people, on their computers and on their phones. So I'm sorry. Enough about that. Other questions? So somebody we haven't heard from yet. Anybody? Joni, is this interesting to you?
Yes, it actually is very fascinating.
Okay. So, by the way, I should mention that, Lonnie is a professional programmer. I'm a writer and editor who pretends to be a programmer. I mean, I've worked in the technology industry for the number of years, so I try and model what I've learned from other people about what makes a good website. It sounds like we're probably winding down on questions, so maybe we should wrap it up soon. I will share the recording if you want to go back over things, but let me ask one more time. Any other questions?
Great job. Thank you.
And I said, but I'll stay on if anybody wants to go over things one-on-one. Lynn, you were saying you were having some challenges with modifying the agenda. Do you think you understand it better now? Okay, I'm getting nodding and thumbs up. That's all good. All right. Well, I think this has been productive, and I thank you so much to my three guests, Eloise Young, Arlene Prudhomme, and Lonnie Huff. You've made this, I think, a richer experience for everybody and shown them what's possible. There's kind of a difference between what's easy and what takes a while to learn. But I'm hoping we're going to make progress in kind of lowering that learning curve for folks. Andy, did you have something else that you wanted to add? I saw something in the chat, but
No, I just said that I'm ready to jump in with a demo account so that I can once more try persuading people in my club in Tampa to play with this.
okay.
And we
Cool.
can talk offline about that.
Okay. And actually, you are welcome to just set up a test account, even if you don't necessarily have a club on board yet. If you just want to play with it,
Yes, I'd like
you
to.
can take advantage of that 3-month trial.
Yeah, I'd like to do that.
Okay. Well, I was just saying that to everybody. All right. Well, thank you all for joining me tonight. It's been fun, and our guest speakers have made it more fun.